Good morning, beautiful goddesses, and welcome to another episode of Soul Sister Adventures. Can you believe we are on number 25, a quarter of a century?
How awesome is that? 25, baby.
25. And the question we have for you today is, are you sending mixed messages? That's right. Are you sending mixed messages? And I love this conversation. Not only is every cell in our body listening, the universe is listening. So I know Connie's got some juicy reading for us today, and then we're going to dive into, a fun conversation. How is this actually applying in our lives, and in your lives, and what can we do to radically make shifts that matter? Yes, Miss Connie?
I love shift that matters.
Me too.
So we've been taking excerpts from Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, T. Harv Eker. And so last week we talked about wealth file number 2, which was great. So this week we're on wealth file number 3. So I got my glasses on, so
we're getting serious.
So this week, the wealth file number 3 is rich people are committed to being rich. Poor people want to be rich. So you already start to hear there's a difference. Most people really don't want to be rich because they have a lot of negative files in their unconscious mind that go along with what that means to be rich. So that's where the first little bit of confusion comes, because if you know wealthy people, they're very, very clear what they're committed to and where they're going. Get out of the way, right?
Yes. Well, I've always heard decide what you want and say no to everything else.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Say that again.
Say decide what you want and then say no to everything else.
Yeah. So a lot of times, if you are not where you want to be financially, it's because you don't have that singular focus. You don't have that the commitment, right? And the deal is, here it says, the universe is another way of saying the higher power, which is akin to a mail order department. It's constantly delivering people, events, and things to you. And boy, isn't that the truth?
Amen.
People will say to me, how'd you hear about that? And I'm like, God, it's always sending me what I need when I need it. That's how I was raised. That's how it's always been. So that's what I expect. So guess what keeps coming? Those things that are supposed to be in my world, right? And then I get to decide, is it in alignment with who I am and what I want? My branding is own your life. So if it leads to part of that, then I'm in. If it doesn't, then I'm not. So you order, right? Because it's taking an order from you. You order what you get by sending energetic messages out to the universe based on your predominant beliefs. Again, based on the law of attraction, the universe will do its best to say yes and support you. And if you have mixed messages in your file, the universe can't understand what you want. So, we've actually been designed. We have this part of our brain. Here's the nerd coming out, called the reticular activating system.
You mean you put her away for a second?
I know it's hard to tell sometimes. I think she's always with me. I honestly, I tell people it's part of my charm. So it'll rub off. So we know there's this reticular activating system that lets our brain know what's important to us. We've talked about this before, you guys just got a new Mercedes for Ken, and you were driving it and all of a sudden you see, oh, here's more. There's more out there than I just thought. It's the same thing for what you're focused on and what's important to you. So it says the number one reason most people don't get what they want is that they don't know what they want. Rich people are totally clear about they want wealth. They're unwavering in their desire. They are fully committed to creating wealth. As long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, they will do whatever it takes to have wealth. Rich people do not send mixed messages to the universe. Poor and middle class people do. So last week, part of the homework that we talked about was write down your 2 financial objections that demonstrate your intention to create abundance, not mediocrity or poverty. Write your play to win goals for your annual income and your net worth. So again, get clear. So you should already have been, not should, I hate that word. You had the opportunity to get clear on what you wanted. If you haven't done that work yet, get clear now. Because it might be hard to believe you always get what you want. Now, here's the deal. It's what you unconsciously want, because that's the predominant wealth files that are running. Not what you necessarily say you want, it's what you believe. And some people deny this and say, well, that's crazy. Why would I want to struggle? And my question for you is exactly the same. I don't know. Why would you want to struggle? So first, you unconsciously don't really want wealth, or here's a hard truth. Second, you're not willing to do what it takes to create it. So let's explore this a little further. There are actually 3 levels of so-called wanting. The first level is I want to be rich. That's another way of saying I'll take it if it falls in my lap. Wanting alone is useless. Have you noticed that wanting doesn't necessarily lead to having? Also notice that wanting without having leads to more wanting. Wanting becomes habitual and leads only to itself, creating a perfect circle that goes exactly nowhere. Wealth does not come from merely wanting it. How do you know this? With a simple reality check. Billions of people want to be rich, relatively few are. That's the first level. So if you're finding yourself there, let's listen so we can upgrade that. The second level of wanting is I choose to be rich. This entails deciding to be rich. Choosing it is a much stronger energy and goes hand in hand with being responsible for creating your reality. The word decision comes from the Latin word decidere, which means to kill off any other alternatives. Choosing is better, but not the best. And like you said it earlier, if it's not in alignment with what I want, it's a no. So that's killing off those other alternatives.
Yeah. Burn the boats. We're not going back.
Exactly. Right.
Well, so and I even remember, I'll just put in a quick story here. I remember, when I was in the roofing, because I did that for 2 years, if you remember, if you can imagine me on a roof, and I had began my water adventure, and it was April, and it was starting to hail, and they call and they're like, are you coming back? And I'm like, no. And it really was like, I had loved roofing. I had loved that business. It had provided joy. It had provided a lifestyle that was amazing. And I was clearly deciding, like drawing a line in the sand. This is the future for the rest of my life. And they literally were like, oh, well, we'll be here when that fails. And I'm like, not happening. So anyone who knows me, you challenge me, you have just set the rockets of my desire. Like they just supercharged my fuel. So, I had to make a decision right there, draw a line in the sand. This is where I'm going, no turning back. And get that energetically evokes actions, brain patterns, ways of being, thoughts that are undeniable. This is where we're going.
Yeah. And that's the messages that you sent out to all the cells inside and the universe. Exactly. Yeah. So, which leads us to the third level of wanting, which is where you're at for sure. And me too, right? I commit to being rich. The definition of the word commit is to devote oneself unreservedly. This means holding absolutely nothing back, giving 100% of everything you've got to achieving wealth. Now, if money's not your thing, go apply this. This is a universal principle. Apply this to whatever is the most important thing to you. We just know we hear from our listeners. This is a topic that people want to, elevate in. So this means absolutely holding nothing back, giving 100% of everything you got to achieving wealth. It means being willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes. This is the warrior's way. No excuses, no ifs, no buts, no maybes, and failure is not an option. The warrior's way is simple. I will be rich or I will die trying. Like you said, burn the boat.
Well, and if I can put in there, I always like to put in what maybe might be listening. And I love what you
Yeah.
said. If like riches or wealth is not, like, if you're uncomfortable with that, like that is a limiting belief too.
Yes.
Like wealth, abundance is like air. It just is. So it's kind of like, are you saying, well, I don't want to breathe anymore? And it's not about the money, it's about what the money provides.
Yep.
For, say that again.
It's a tool.
It is a tool. That's right. It is a tool to having anything and everything you say that you want, like freedom or travel or pleasure or luxury or fill in the blank. So money for me wasn't at the forefront. It was the freedom. And then what I got was they were hand in hand. So if you're having an uncomfortable listening to this, really get present to what does that, what is it that you want, and consider, can you have it with or without money?
Well,
Which,
it is so great that you brought that up, because literally this is the next paragraph.
oh,
I commit to being rich. Try saying that to yourself. What comes up for you? For some, it feels empowering. For others, it feels daunting.
yeah,
So it's good to check in. I mean, literally, like Shannon, you didn't know that was the next paragraph.
no,
Yeah. So most people never truly commit to being rich. If you ask them, would you bet your life that in the next 10 years you will be wealthy? Most people would say, no way. That's the difference between rich people and poor people. It's precisely because people won't truly commit to being rich that they are not rich and most likely will never be. So, that you're trying. So most people say, I'm working my butt off. I'm trying really hard. Of course I'm committed. And the reply is that you're trying means little. The definition of commitment is to devote oneself unreservedly. The key word, unreservedly, which means you're putting everything into having that. Most people who are not financially successful will put limits on what they're willing to do, how much they're willing to risk, how much they're willing to sacrifice. There's limits on it. So here it says, I hate to have to be the one that tells you this, but getting rich is not a stroll in the park. And anyone who tells you is either knows a heck of a lot more than me or is a little out of integrity. In my experience, getting rich takes focus, courage, knowledge, expertise, 100% of your effort, and never give up attitude, and of course, a richer mindset. You also have to believe in your heart of hearts that you can create wealth, and you absolutely deserve it. So if you, yes,
and you
you
absolutely deserve it.
absolutely.
Yes.
So all of those things have got to be in alignment.
Yes.
So, if you are not fully, totally, truly committed to creating wealth, chances are you won't. So, so this is a quote by W.H. Murray. Unless one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, rising in one's favor, all manner of unforeseen incidences, meetings, and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt of, would have come his way. In other words, the universe will assist you, guide you, support you, and even create miracles for you. First, you have to commit.
Oh, so good.
Yes.
And once you
So
commit, things that have never moved are now
now moving.
moving.
Exactly.
That might be in our mission statement.
I think it actually, I
I think
remember
it
being
is.
in the water store and writing that down with you. Yeah. So we're gonna imprint, so first of all, we're gonna activate that heart mind coherence. So put your hand on your heart and slow down your breathing. So I just read, so we talk about breathing slowly, right? And I honestly thought the reason why that was so helpful was because it oxygenated my blood. And they said, yes, and the real reason that helps activate the heart has nothing to do with the oxygen in your blood. It has to do by taking deep breaths. It has your heart beat slower and conveys a message of safety. So when you're feeling safe because you're physiologically slowing down your heart rate by taking deep breaths, it allows the heart actually sends more messages to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. Isn't that awesome? So that's why we're taking a moment to get centered and grounded.
Deep breaths.
And you want to feel the gratitude, feel empathy of where you are now, because we know where we are is not always where we need to stay. So have some empathy towards yourself. Like, you got this far. So breathing deeply, feeling the appreciation of all that is there, and having empathy and compassion towards yourself. Declare, I commit to being rich. And then touch your head, I have a millionaire mind. The other thing I learned is when you're saying these affirmations and getting into that heart-brain coherence, oftentimes we know in NLP, if I'm imagining something, I look up, I look up to the right, and you can see how our eyes patterns follow what was going on inside. The cool thing is that you could direct your body, and that will also, it works both ways. It'll influence what's going on inside. So when you smile and nod your head yes, that will also bring things into the unconscious mind to affirm that's where it is. So like, you could also nod your head, smile, I choose to be rich. I commit to being rich, or whatever statement you want to say to get that, message back to the brain. So here's the homework. Write a short paragraph. And again, writing, not typing into your phone or your computer, because writing, again, it's a neurological pathway. Write a short paragraph on exactly why creating wealth is important to you. Be specific. So you referred to that earlier, Shannon, because it's not about the money, it's about what the money provides.
Yeah. And again, little story, so it helps. So I made that decision, and then what were the results? I think it was 43 sales in 50 days.
Wow.
And then we hit the top of the company in 143 days. 153 days. So for the first time.
And you've done that 5 times?
6 now.
6 times.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't want to leave anyone out, because each one's a boatload of intentionality
And commitment and heart and love. And yeah, so I can clearly see, and again, like, let's back this up. So it started with, I had a vision that I wanted to be home on my front porch when my daughter got off the bus from school. I remember it distinctly, the day that it happened. I was like snot in tears, right? It was August of 2019. And it was, for me, it was like a snapshot into what does freedom look like for me. Now, that may or may not be your freedom at all. You are the only person who can decide what freedom is and looks like for you. And for me, it was being present and active and being able to take off from my 9-to-5 job. It was way more than 9 to 5. I was probably working about 80 hours a week at some point. And be home and be present with her. And it took everything inside of me to draw the line in the sand and declare this for myself. Now, I had no evidence that I could do this, no model that anyone in my circle had done it, right? My mom had been worked 3 jobs her entire life, right? What was I doing at some point? Not at that point, but at some point, I was also working 3 jobs, right? Because what do? We
we emulate what we've been modeled to us.
Yes. And so this was just like another step, another layer into like creating my reality, declaring what it is I want, being committed to my word. My word is all we had. And I can promise you, my tiny probably, I know for a fact she did not believe me that I could do it. I also know she did not believe that we would ever get the house renovated, right? All that's, I mean, like there's so many things that I said we would do and we've now done them. And I come back and I remind her, do you remember when I said I would do this? Do you remember not actually believing me? Like I bring that to her conscious awareness so that she can see our word is all we have. And the way that we speak and the way that we think, and it's the way that we act, and the way that we move, and the way that we be. So all I want to underscore for our listeners is this conversation we're having is not light. Like this is a free podcast, and we are having a conversation with you that can shift your entire world. And how do we know that? It has for me. It has for Connie.
Yeah, this is life lived. Yeah.
Yeah, life lived as by design as well.
Yeah, conscious creation.
Totally. And again, Connie was saying about the deserve part. Again, if you listen to last week's podcast, I think that's where I shared. I remember the first time I went to go hit 6 figures, like everything inside of me wanted to shut it down. Like my cells were going, abort, not safe here, because that was clearly an energetic limiting belief for me that if I surpassed it, like
unknown waters,
uncharted waters with no a life jacket, right? I mean, let's just keep it into that world. No life jacket and no blueprint for anyone having done it the way I did it before. And so, and let's go back to, I gave my word, I had a commitment, and then I said no to anything else. And then I surrounded myself with people that would only support that. If you did not, you were not in my world.
Yep.
So we clean house, literally.
Yeah, for sure.
Clean some house, because there's only one place this ship is going.
That's right.
And it was really, it was inside of a view that I said that I wanted to be as a mom.
That clearly touched, moved, and inspired you.
Yeah.
And still does.
100%.
Yeah.
And we get to, at this new level, as we're embarking, another new level, we get to recreate again and recreate again and recreate again. So as you begin to bust through these blocks, limiting beliefs, brain patterns, and begin to dance on that surfboard of uncharted waters, you find that's like where the freedom is. That's where the passion is. That's where the like unimaginable visions and dreams arise. And then you get to do this again, because you will now bump up against a new one.
Right.
And then a new one. So it's like wherever, and it's just the journey, right? There is no destination. It's like how we came to this planet for this adventure, and how would we like it to go? So as you continue to evolve, as you continue to up level, as you continue to transform your brains and your being and your energy and your frequency, not only within yourselves, your inner world creates your outer world. How can you go back to this podcast, this one right here, number 25, quarter of a century, and do it again? Because I know I've just gotten to do it again. Kind of you are doing it again.
Totally.
And we invite you, ladies, as you listen to this, to be a continual evolution of who you said you came here to be. And when you accomplish that, because you will, because you're hanging out with us, and we are unstoppable, because our word, we only given our word to it. we get to rewrite it again.
Well, and I love that you pointed to, only those people that were in alignment with that vision were allowed
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
People do not have unlimited access to you unless you give it to them.
Yeah.
And we always encourage you to, join our Facebook group, our Soul Sister Adventure. And we have some of our soul sisters in there inviting their friends to come and play with us.
Yeah.
Invite your friends, invite the women who you want to be elevating with you on this journey. There is room for more.
There is room for more.
Yes.
All right. Well, this has been a juicy conversation today. Hope that you have transformed every area of your life with this conversation. Like it, tag it, post it, share it. Put your comments below. Invite, like Connie said, a soul sister to join you on this adventure, this boogie board ride.
Yeah, and get in the car.
Get in